was a mass casualty event. There was some sort of a huge catastrophe that took place that killed all of these animals. Now, we know that humans were around back then. The question was, how sophisticated were they? And this is where it all gets so weird, you know, because I've been following this forever and ever and ever. And I was following it long before they discovered Göbekli Tepe. No. And so the question was that the archaeologists would always, the really arrogant archaeologists, would always throw in the faces of these heretics. They would say, well, if this is true, where's the evidence of this ancient civilization that was so sophisticated they can make massive stone structures 10,000 years ago? There is no evidence.
Yep.
Well, now there is.
Yeah.
So now they have to kind of look at it and go, well, okay, we were wrong about that, but we know 2,500 BC maximum, that's how old the pyramids are.
A lot of the scientists, most of the scientists are actually scientists, but the ones that we end up seeing are the ones that are invested in creating a narrative. They're the ones that they want to make sure that pseudo-archaeology and pseudoscience is always on its back foot and never gets a fair day in court and blah, blah, blah. These guys, they don't give us any real accurate interpretation of the data. They'll step way outside of their lane to tell you what's going on.
You mean like Flint Dibble?
I mean exactly like Flint Dibble.
Well, you were the guy that broke down what he was inaccurate about when he was having that air quotes debate with Graham Hancock.
Well, yeah.
It's all very unfortunate because what he does know is really interesting. All that stuff about ancient seeds and stuff and how they change over the time and, you know, how you can tell whether a seed is domesticated versus whether it's feral.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's good at what he does, at least as far as that stuff goes. But like there's a guy that's a trained anthropologist that made a couple of videos about him, Sam Urban from Illegitimate Scholar, and he, I think Graham mentioned him here before. He specialized in underwater shipwrecks, and he just blasted the stuff that Flint said, not just the 3 million shipwrecks. He just blasted on a scientific level. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Yeah, he got way out of his lane with that.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's, I guess, one of the biggest things here. All those guys right now are laughing, going, "You're an electrician, Dan. You're outside of your lane every time you talk about this shit." But the difference
is, think you're outside of your lane. I'm outside of my lane about fucking everything. If I'm not talking about people getting beat up or cracking jokes.
Yeah. Well, only you would have a painting of you busting Shangulis's ass.
I didn't make that.
Every time he posts that picture, he's like, "I had a great time on JRE." I'm like, "Man, I've seen that on. That's a beautiful work of art, right?"
It's very pretty.
Very pretty. Good painting.
Yeah, so we're all out of our lanes. It's with something. Every person who's an expert is out of their lanes with a lot of things.
But there's a difference, and this is like what you alluded to it a minute ago, where it's like there's a difference between saying we know for a fact and we're not sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, a common atheist argument, if you talk like Richard Dawkins, he'll say, the minute that a scientist says God did it, they're not worth a fuck to me in the lab because they're not working anymore. They're like, I've got the answer. But that's the same thing as the science is settled. If you say the science is done, we know for a fact. You
can't say that.
Well, you're no longer worth a fuck to me in the lab.
Science is not settled when you don't have all the information in the universe.
And exactly, since we never will.
Yeah. Well, maybe we will.